You're watching highlights of the Ravenna City Council meeting on August 3rd, 2026.
And of course, speaking about ordinance number 2026-114, I believe this is bad for Ravenna, and that's why I'm speaking this. And this is regardless of what happens in the federal case. And I'll explain why I feel this way. And I understand why Mr. Finney brought it forward. And I really do understand why he brought it forward. He's been made the scapegoat in this lawsuit by every person on the defendant's side, and he is just defending himself. Carmen, at the last meeting you mentioned that you were not here in 2001 to 2003 when this originally was R4. You know who was here? I was here, standing right in this spot. Do you know who? None of the people on this council were here. Do you know who was here? Frank Seaman, Frank Semino, and Bob Finney. Bob Finney not as the engineer at that time, but in that department. This was meant to be R4 as a buffer between the commercial properties on Main Street and the residences back there. It is still a buffer between commercial and residential, and it should remain that way. And I know that because I was here. The four of us were here. Mr. Finney, Mr. Semino, and Mr. Seaman, and me. We were here. So I know what it was intended to be at that time. I knew because we owned adjoining property. They knew because it was their job to know what this R4 meant to the city of Ravenna. This property is actually directly behind my house or in front of it, whichever way you orient yourself. So this would impact me. Mr. Sodal has talked about these persistent problems that we have, and that's just my perspective as somebody who is going to neighbor this particular property. So it seems to me that a council person is concerned about something that's going to happen next to their property, but not what's going to happen next to my property. That's a little distressing. I go on to say, I would say, more often than not, people don't live up to whatever they promised us. Welcome to my world. But what's in mine doesn't make any difference. I and the neighbors that surround it, we put a lot of time into our yards and into the appearance of our house, our neighbors, and our neighborhoods. And this is not something that I would like to be invited in. And also for the fact that I live right behind this, how in the world, if you make that C1, are you going to invite anyone in there to take out a mortgage for 20 years, 30 years, whatever, to fix up those houses when they know that's a C1 there and the potential for what could happen on that property? Things are different when you're next to a C1. But just remember, you all say you're here to clean up neighborhoods. You want to make Ravenna better. Well, you're setting up there, and it's a very important position. We need you to make the right decision for our community. We can only do so much. It's a team effort, and it's frustrating seeking these multifamily places coming into our neighborhoods. There are multifamily neighborhoods, a few houses that are multifamily around that property. There could be more. You're not going to be able to have someone put on a mortgage and do the work necessary to change them back to single-family homes, which is the stated goal of this council, and I believe the long-term plan for the city. I can tell you right now of 3 places that are major burdens on our city because they are multifamily. You're going to have more multifamily going in around there. That will happen. And that's a shame because there's some great historic homes around there. They have 3 and 4 tenants in a home that was made into a multifamily. You're creating a nightmare on the west end of town, and the west end of town is already going down this hill. Well, just imagine all the things that are coming because of our property values are going to start decreasing. That is what's going to happen around us if you change that to C1. It can't help but do that. No one is going to put a 30 or 40-year mortgage in to a house that's bordering on a C1. Why would they? Why would they? I wouldn't, and I try to be as financially responsible as I possibly can. I would not. We're getting nothing at the west end of town, but things that attract slums and blight, basically in a nice way. So if in order to start getting things that have some type of value, we have to stop these multifamilies. So again, it's in your court. That's not in my court. I can do what I can and what I've told the people I will do, But just remember, it's on the record. Remember, Nick Brown, who advised you, will go back to Solon, to his office, and back to his home, and back to his home. You will be here, living with the results of this decision. As Amy said, it's up to you. It's in your court. I would ask that you table this, get rid of it. From my point of view, as far as the lawsuit's concerned, it's not going to matter whether it's R4 or C1. But for Ravenna, why am I the only one that's concerned about Ravenna and Ravenna's future? It doesn't make sense. I'm not even a council person. I seem to be the only one that's actually concerned.
My name's Connie Ledbetter. I'm a homeowner on the west side of Ravenna. I've turned my head to this, what I'm going to talk about now, for quite a while. I've been a homeowner here for a long time. I grew up right next door to where I live. My biggest concern is the influx of foot traffic that comes down the alley beside our home. And it's been going on for a while. It goes across Sycamore Street to a brick apartment, to the end apartment, and they're there 1 or 2 minutes, turn around, and walk right out. And it's constant. And it's not counting the cars that come and leave the parking lot, or the alley, the house. We have children that live around there.
So one of the big things this year was our marketing push. So we wanted to put together a recreation planner. So if you guys haven't seen one of these, they are all over the place. They're fantastic. We actually have seen a lot of people call us about these, and also sign up for programs just from the little marketing booklet that we have. Second thing for this year, we had to put together a new Facebook page. And last year, the page was around 2,300 followers. We are currently sitting right around 950 followers, which is pretty solid for just starting that in January. So we're pretty excited about where we are with that. Hopefully by the end of the year, we should be close to that 1,500 mark, which would be awesome. Before, when Tower Lodge was rented, if it was rented on a Friday, it was closed down Saturday and Sunday, or vice versa. It was rented on a Saturday, it was closed on for Sunday. So we've worked out with one of our cleaning crews to take care of that on the days that it's used prior. So now we're actually seeing multiple weekend rentals from a Friday and a Saturday's perspective. And that alone, we have seen an increase of just over $2,200 since we've made that adjustment, which is pretty remarkable. So we came up with a rate, and we've been charging $35 per hour to rent, and we've actually seen some people take advantage of that for some evening rentals, when we don't have to necessarily pay for a cleaning crew to come in because we're staffed throughout the week, so we can take care of that. So that's also helped as well. But it's going to get held up slightly because we have some groups outside who are actually doing some funding for us. So as we get those funds come in, I'm going to send this through council to get approved as donations that we can put towards getting those T-pads 100% paid for, which will be pretty nice. And for ours being as new as it is, it's ranked out of 5, and most courses are barely above a 4. And we're right around that 4.9 or 3.9, which is fantastic for a new course. And most of the negative feedback we get on it is we don't have permanent T-pads. Everyone else acts like our course is perfect. It plays nice. We've done a lot of renovations this year on the ball fields, from lowering fences on the outfields because they were about 8 inches too high. So we had most of all the fencing dropped. We've added fencing around our dugouts to make it safe for the kids. And then they fixed some of the posts around as well. And from that, we brought in 4 tournaments this year. From in the month of June, every weekend we had a tournament Saturday and Sunday. So we got a lot of play from that. And what we were charging $150 per field to rent it. So we were making, and they were renting both fields out at Havertz. So that's $300 a day. For the weekend, we were making $600 a day just renting the fields, which was really nice. And then we've also been adding. Another thing we did with our baseball fields is we changed our rate with that as well. We looked at to do more of an hourly fee. Before it was, I believe, it was like $40 a day to rent a field. We cut that back. We're now looking at $20 per hour, and we got a lot of baseball teams coming through the parks this year, and we were seeing a huge increase in revenue. With that, we can put that money back into our fields and continue to make them nicer for years to come. We're doing it the weekend before We normally do Halloween stuff here, so the idea is we want to do it the weekend before and get more vendors out there, make it more of a family-friendly event, do some hay rides, some different games, costume contests. That's a program that's been highly successful for the city, and it's kind of bounced around. Since I've been here, I've seen it in the back of the Annex building or out in the parking lot. I've seen it at Habersfield, and then I was told it was also done in Tower Lodge. So we've kind of made a permanent home for it inside the or the old indoor arena at Havers. So we're going to try to be working on putting together some sort of a holiday selfie booth, so where we'll decorate different stalls and families can go in there and take pictures and utilize some of the backdrops that we have there. So it should be pretty nice, and that should be, I think we're looking to do that in November. Another project we're currently working on at Sunbow is kind of a paving project, or it's more of a grindings project, trying to create more of a permanent parking lot out there. It's the first thing I noticed when we took over this spring. We were trying to have our Easter egg hunt out there, but we had such a wet spring. If we would have tried to park cars out there like we've normally done, we'd been pulling cars, trenching up the fields. So something we're trying to do is to make that property more user-friendly, more usable throughout the year. So we don't necessarily have to worry about if we get a bad rain, we still have some hard, stable ground that we can park cars on. So that's something we're currently working on right now. So in 2025, our recreation programs for that time period was $70,246. And for 26, we're at $79,171. So we're up at $8,900 just in programming. Rec memberships, we're at $47,739. And for 25 and 26, we're at 49,567, which is a slight increase. We went up $1,800. This number does include our ball field numbers as well as our Tower Lodge numbers. But at 2025, we were at 7,845, and in 2026, we're at 15,390, which is up $7,500, which is awesome. In total revenue. 25 at this point, we're at 125,831, and as of 2026, we're at 125,000 this year. We're at 144,129, which is up $18,000. Which, like I said, it's nice to see us moving forward, but just kind of, I think it just shows the potentials that we have here in Ravenna and how we continue to find ways to improve things and to move stuff forward. So I'm pretty excited about that trend. I would be looking at eventually taking we have currently 2 tennis courts, and would be taking one more of those tennis courts and we can put 4 courts onto one. Like I said, it's not in the direct or in the initial future, but it's something I think is coming as we continue to grow this sport. Everywhere it's just exploding, and the more people know what we have and how nice it is, it's going to pull more and more people in, which is great for Ravenna. We have a senior games coming up. That's for ages 55 plus, and we're looking at it's a 2-person teams, and they're competing in like archery, some disc golf, cornhole. We have like a little spot shot for basketball. We have a trivia game for them. So it should be a lot of fun. So we're working on that right now, trying to get more people to sign up. So that should be a pretty cool community cup for like I said, the whole idea is try to get more communities engaged, or more businesses engaged, and with kind of like a trophy at the end that they can potentially show in their business throughout the year. So right now we're working on a youth girls volleyball league, and we're seeing girls right now sign up from all over Portage County, which is really cool. So that's continuing to grow. So we're hoping we can have a great season, and this hopefully will be a staple for us moving forward here in Ravenna. This is kind of the approach I'd like to see a lot of our sports being, where instead of us sending our teams to other communities, I'd like us to be the hub. So it's nice to see this first real league starting with girls volleyball, and like I said, eventually I want to see this happening with soccer. So this is also kind of my big long-term goal with Sunbow, is to make that more of our event and recreation hub. So with soccer, I think if we can put several fields out in the large space that we have there, have in the parking lots, we can start to pull more and more people to our community and utilize that space. Because it is a wonderful space that we can use. We just finished up a fishing club, and which was great. We did it out at Lake Hodgson's, and every session we taught the kids how to tie fish knots, how to put different hooks on, how to bait their hooks, what poles were used in different situations, line, a lot of technique. So the kids walked away with hopefully some knowledge, but also a lot of fishing. And every kid every day, caught a lot of fish. And then we'll kind of end the year off with a Santa meet and greet that we're starting this year. It'll be at the rack. The idea of they'll kind of parents can sign up for time slots that kind of come through the rack. We'll have it decorated, and they can meet Santa and write a letter as well, and kind of have a little quick meeting with Santa there.
No, I think it's great that like some of the things that you even mentioned, so like the selfie stuff.
Yeah.
I know I did that. It was a blast, so I'm super excited that that's coming back. That was one of the best things I did through Parks and Rec. That in Tower Lodge, I've used it, and
Yeah.
I know we talked after I used it, and then
Right.
after that is when we started increasing the rentals, so it's great to
Yeah.
see.
So will that replace the drive-through event?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I mean, that was great for when it started, but that was an exhausting day. Retreat
Right.
starts the minute that ends, and it was just this whole day. It's like if you're a part of it, especially if you're getting candy for it, sell the kids.
Right, and that's kind of the idea behind it as well. We feel like, because a lot of the vendors who wanted to come to ours were like, hey, we're already going
Yes.
downtown. Can we leave early to get to the other
Yeah.
events? We're like, well, maybe we can get more vendors, even if we do it the weekend before, and really make this kind of like a small community event.
I was kind of hoping our trick or treat would be actually on Halloween this year. It's on the 31st.
Saturday.
Yeah, it's on the 31st. So I didn't know what the actual date was, but yeah, I guess they're keeping everything the same. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Sunbow, I was there, and you guys did a great job. So they didn't really know what to expect, and it really couldn't have gone better on how well they all worked together. And thank goodness for Tyler and his expertise on the computer, because he worked all day long on trying to get the sound system and everything in check. So it was a great event, and you have a wonderful, wonderful team. So every time I go into your office, it's just, you guys are working like clockwork, and you guys all seem to be laughing and, just getting stuff in order, and it's a really good atmosphere. So I just want to say thank you.
The concert that we had out there was great. It showed its real potential. What'd you learn from that, and what are we planning going forward? What do we think the potential might be there? What did we learn? Where's that going?
Yeah, so I would like to put together a 6-concert series moving forward next year. What we learned is I don't think ticket sales is the way to go. But the other thing that we did learn, though, with it is, because something leading up to the event, so if we were to move that route, or we're going to have some sort of a fee associated, I think we're going to get rid of the ticket idea and just probably charge parking if we do. To be honest, I love the idea of free community concerts, but obviously they have to get funded from somewhere. So we're looking at trying to get a lot more sponsorship dollars to trying to cover those expenses.
The first report is from Utilities, Mr. Moskin.
Yes, there'll be at least one topic on the agenda for next week.
Information Systems, Mr. Maravich.
I don't believe we'll be meeting.
It's going to be a very positive discussion, I feel. And also changes to multifamily units. So could kind of be a long one.
And I'm not sure, Ms. Lawrence, any items for finance this month?
Yes, there'll be a couple that I turned in, but nothing
Okay.
that's going to take too long.
All right, so we'll have a short meeting. That leads us to the Cemetery Board. Mr. Moskin and/or Ms. West, do you have anything to report?
Yeah. Oh,
ahead, Paul.
okay. Well, as far as the chapel goes, things have been changed for that. Okay. So we're going, actually, we probably made a mistake going from the top down, so we're going, reconstructing from the ground up. So the donations have changed in that aspect. So we'll go that route next year and see how this goes from when the floor is redone on the inside, and then go from there. So it'll be a long project, depending on how funds might come in the future.
So we're looking at not only replacing the one fountain, but putting 4 fountains out for aeration system and for the fountains. Thanks to the city for the donation of 5 trees, because we have 18 that need to come down, 7 which are critical within the cemetery. So we do have a company coming out to do those and kind of keep an eye on those. We really have to take care of all the trees that are out there. So we're also exploring, maybe possibly at the beginning of next year, having some come out and clean up the dead out of the trees that are healthy, so that we don't run into those issues in the future. So really taking care of the trees that are out there.
Except for the trees that she mentioned that'll be coming down soon. The price on that's $8,000.
Yeah.
Because one of them in particular, a crane will have to be brought in.
Great. Okay.
But
Thank you.
yes,
That was nice and comprehensive, but I do want to give one shout out for Scott. He's done amazing work during the Marlene Watts for fundraising. I think we functionally doubled last year's outcome from the previous year for this last one we did. So I'll come by and personally tell them I'm proud too.
One of the things they've been working on is wayfinding. I remember a few years back, we approved signage and a certain design. I think they've been working on that and are going to have some proposals to bring to council. That also should happen in September. But every fourth Friday in the warmer weather, they're basically hosting this music in the Pocket Park. Last fourth Friday in July, they had artists throughout the city. And so they're just trying to promote a regular kind of event that's focused and located downtown and trying to get people to come in, listen to some music, get a bite to eat, maybe visit some of the shops.
An ordinance amending the codified ordinances of the City of Ravenna, Part 12, Planning and Zoning Code, Title 6, Zoning, Chapter 1266, Districts Generally and Zoning Maps, Section 1266.03, Zoning Map by rezoning Portage County parcel numbers 31-349-04-00-250-00 0, comma, 31-349-04-00-251-000, comma, 31-349-04-00-252-000, comma, 31-349-04-00-258-000, comma, 31-349-04-00-260-000, and parcel number 31-349-04-00-261-000 from R4 Residential District to C1 Commercial District, and parcel numbers 31-349-04-00-223-2000 and 34-349-04-00-224-000 from Central Business District to C1 Commercial District as described in.
So there's an amendment to this because as it turns out, there were 2 parcels that were already C1. And so they will, obviously, those will not be changed as they're already designated as such. There were an additional 2 parcels in Central Business District. There's an additional that were Central Business District, so that will be, this will change that designation from Central Business District to C1. And then, as we've discussed in previous meetings, those back parcels, 6 of them, I believe. 6 of them will be going from residential to C1, from R4 to C1.
So are there areas now that are going to be affected in the back where Mr. Salinius's home is and the other homes back there? Are we going to have the same type of worry about these homes being possibly turned into multifamily? Or are we able to only make the particular area of where the businesses are and the library is, where there's not residential? I'm kind of getting confused here. So I want.
The existing homes will not change. Only the existing parking lot that has been this way since 2003 or 2004 is changing a zoning map.
So it's not going to change the
We're not
neighborhood.
changing any of the
That
other
is
homes.
not going to be affected.
Correct. Those will not change.
Because I think the map makes it clear to see that the things that are going to be changing from R4 to C1 are just those parcels that are the parking lot. And then on the map, it's parcels 1 and 2 that are currently in the Central Business District. those are going to go from CBD to C1. And then we have these other two parcels on here identified on the map as 3 and 4, and you could see we don't need to change those because those are already C1.
We set the hearing for September 21st. That would be the same night as our committee of the whole meeting. That will certainly give the clerk time to announce this well in advance of 30 days. And we can hold the public hearing then. Public can come and say whatever they wish to let council know about this ordinance. So as we hear from residents in the public hearing, and then in October, when we read it for a third time and make a decision, then I want you to pay particular attention to those 9 standards. That's the job of council. I'm not just saying that's what I want you to do, that's what you should do.
Is there any way to make a bigger copy of this for the public hearing and put it out there so when we discuss these things, that people out in the audience are going to be able to go up and see what we're talking about?
Is we have to post on the property the issue about the rezoning, and hopefully, I think, include the public hearing date. Maybe the map, too. All right, so this will stay on first reading. We cannot do anything until we hold the public hearings.
An ordinance creating a new section of the codified ordinances of the City of Ravenna, Part 8, Business Regulation and Taxation Code, Title 2, Business Regulation by adding Chapter 859, Self-Storage Facilities, and declaring an emergency.
And this is something that we've talked about for quite some time. We've dealt with a couple moratoriums on this while we look into this. Really just putting some language in place to kind of help guide future storage facilities coming into our city as well as what we already have. Well, and know that too, like any ordinance that we are putting in place, if we do move through with an emergency and we find that we need to adjust something or see something to make it better, we certainly have the capacity to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no automatic, I mean, the council has to vote by a supermajority to approve the emergency clause, so that could always be something council can choose not to do. But I think that was the rationale for putting an emergency clause there, that we didn't want to have a gap between this and the expiration of the moratorium that's currently in place.
And certainly, again, remembering that this is something that we've talked about for quite some time, on and off. There's been 2 moratoriums that we've had, so we've had the time to kind of look into this and research this and see what we wanted. This is not really an emergency.
An ordinance amending the codified ordinances of the City of Ravenna, Part 12, Planning and Zoning Code, Title 6, Zoning, Chapter 1268, Use, Area, and Height Regulations, Section 1268.10, I-1 Industrial, Subsection D, Conditionally Permitted Uses by adding 20 self-storage facilities to conditionally permitted uses and declaring an emergency.
And this is just as it reads. We have to do this because we had no language in any of our ordinances that reflected where a storage facility would fall.
Right, and since the ordinance just approved requires a review by the Planning and Zoning Commission, this puts that requirement in where it lists all the districts and what the permitted and conditionally permitted uses are, and this is listed as conditionally permitted.
I do have some old business.
Go ahead.
Question on foot patrol. Are we still having the foot patrol up in our downtown? To our chief? I've had a lot of people ask me about the foot patrol, and I don't know. I used to see him quite a bit, but I haven't seen him lately, so I was just curious if that is ongoing, or I've had a lot of different complaints with City Park and somewhat with the downtown. So I was just curious, like, if there's been more active foot patrol lately?
We are still conducting foot patrols downtown, but I hope to understand this is the summer, and everybody's on vacation in our department, and when we're running with shift minimums, it's hard to get up there. They get up there as much as they can. We had the SRO on the road. He had to go to a lot of classes. The new SRO had to go to a lot of classes, which took him off the road. So when we have the more than shift minimums, we do foot patrol.
I looked at the Ohio Revised Code as well about the electric bikes and scooters. And I know that's a subject that gets kind of, it's a hard subject to really talk about because it goes about enforcement. There's a lot of things. But the mayor had brought up that possibly we may be able to charge a license fee for them, possibly. There's things that I think we could look at. And the Ohio Revised Code does state that each city could actually enforce their own, but with schools starting up, I think, it could become dangerous with kids going to school that are younger, using this as transportation, especially when they're not wearing helmets, or if they're not if they're not 16 years old. So that's another issue that I wanted to bring up. Well, the problem is if you put them on the road too, you got to look at the lesser of the two. You'd almost rather them be on the sidewalks too, because the road, cars are going to hit them, and the sidewalk's a pedestrian. So it's a balance to figure out which is, it's going to take a lot, but because they're starting to become more and more, I think it's something that we really have to get a little bit more aggressive on.
I think that from what I've observed a lot is this is groups of kids, and they just ride right through red lights. I've seen them all downtown. Downtown's where I notice it the most, that they're just crossing right across the road. And I know that there's been some communities where the kids have lost their lives. Well, and I remember how and where I used to ride my bike when I was their age. And I could have been in a different city for all my mom knew. And so I don't want to go down that, but I do think it's about keeping everyone safe, and not having anybody have it on their conscience that they struck a child.
No, but I do want to add that it would be worth looking at, for a section of our code, 432.24 for driving upon sidewalks, tree lawns, or curbs, since that covers that no person shall drive any vehicle other than a bicycle or an electric bicycle if the motor is not engaged upon a sidewalk or sidewalk area.
Last month, I mentioned the excellent work that our clerk, Ms. Greger, had done for planning the July 11th event. I've heard so many people compliment how it was run in basically your leadership there. Also, members of city staff, Mr. Content was there, and Ms. Lawrence, many council people participated. I think it was something that people keep saying, well, we should do that again. We heard so many great things about what Parks and Rec is doing as well. So let's grab on a little bit of positivity here and be grateful that we're having a very productive summer, and it's not over. Tomorrow night we'll probably have the biggest event by far that we have every year with the Octane Nights event.
That's
Oh, no, I'm
Wednesday.
sorry, Wednesday.
Get me all confused.
Oh, yes. Well, they'll start rolling in tomorrow, I'm sure. But Wednesday night, I apologize for preempting that. And of course, Balloon Affair will be later on. Ms. Michael?
I just want to congratulate Chelsea. I thought maybe Rob was going to bring that up as long
that's
talking.
fine. I'm glad I could
But
share that.
she was nominated for Celebrate Portage County Employee of the Year. So she's one of the nominees for that, and well-deserved. So that event is going to be, when is it, Chelsea? September 24th. So I'm not sure who's all nominated, if they've come out with that list yet, but I definitely am very proud that Chelsea was one of our own. So thank you.
The refurbished breaker for the water treatment plant for their generator is planning to be installed later this month, and that'll be something very good. That'll be a very intricate part of the operation. The other thing, the SCADA system at the wastewater plant will be finished here possibly in the next approximately couple weeks. So that'll be something very big to their operational system there. And one other small thing that I've been hearing from different individuals, quite positive, they've been telling me that they believe the flowers in the middle of town are a very nice asset. They said it really catches their eye when they're coming into the middle of town. I just wanted to relay that.
Not that election, but the one that's coming up in 2027. And at that time, that's an election that somebody that's on council for Ward 4 would be running for re-election. And I wanted to announce tonight that I was not going to be running for reelection to another term after my current term. I'm 75 right now, and I'll be 77 nearly 77 by the end of this term, and if I'm reelected, it would take me to 80 years old. That's kind of a consideration. Another consideration is I've been in public service for about 20 years now in Ravenna, and when I include my superintendent time, so that's a long time in public service. So those are some considerations. The other reason is there are multiple excellent candidates for the Fourth Ward Council position, and I hope this announcement gives them time to think about it over the next couple months. And if they do choose to run, collect your signatures in the fall while it's still nice weather for the first March primaries. Thank you.
And thank you for your service. And
Yeah. I'm not done yet.
announcement.
I'm not done yet.
Although
Year and a half.
I don't know, can you take out petitions earlier than January?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So fall is kind of out.
They can
for
start
us.
working on it. It's their problem, not
You
mine.
can read it over very carefully.
Ms. West?
I can't top that. I have nothing. Okay.
Ms. Lodato?
Just to be aware that we are going to be working on this redistricting, so who exactly lives in Ward 4, that's one of the places that no matter which map we go with or strategy, that's one of the ones that's going to be expanding. So maybe some people that live in the adjoining wards that thought or dreamed about running for city council, that will be open to them in Ward 4 once we conclude that process, which we are counting on the public to be a part of that process. And just like the moratorium, there are some things that we adopt as emergency simply because we have to enact it before there's a deadline. In the case of that levy, it was because there's a Board of Elections deadline. But there was still quite a bit of opportunity for public comment, and that did show up in our agendas. And so as we go through that process, especially now that there is a finance committee, that we really make a commitment to the public, especially when we're asking for their tax dollars, that we really try to be as transparent as possible and put information out there so that people really feel like they're going to be able to engage and have access.
The township trustees and fire chief in the township are recognizing 4 officers for the life-saving efforts. We had an accident, or what perceived as an accident, on 14 and Enterprise Parkway. What it was the mayor was having a medical emergency. The officers arrived first, rendered first aid, started CPR, got the ADD started, and they're recognizing their efforts. And the doctor at the time, the paramedics had said that that's what helped save the man's life. So they're being recognized tomorrow night in the township.
Well done.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows, that was Sergeant Erb, Patrolman Heather Waldeck, Patrolman Caden Gillian, and Patrolman Chris Denice.
I'm looking for a way to display, we're recognized as a monarch city, a Purple Heart city, and a tree city, and there may be more. But if you have suggestions about where we could display these, we've got plaques and things for them, and we need to find a spot to put them where they're seen. But it has water in it, and it's ready to go. As soon as they get started on that, the other one's going to be shut down so that it can have treatment to keep it going the way it needs to go with that.
That's it for this meeting's highlights. Zoning around Main Street and the West End drew some strong neighborhood pushback, while Parks and Rec laid out a really active year with new programs, events, and upgrades across Ravenna. The rezoning map still has a public hearing ahead, and more multifamily discussion is on the way. So keep an eye out for our next round of council highlights.